Hey you guys, this is lesson 8-A, so I'm about to give you guys some notes on factoring. We're going to continue to factor. This lesson goes with Wednesday 422 to 423 for those 2 days, okay? Please make sure when you guys are submitting your work to me for me to double check, all right, you're showing me, especially with this stuff, you're going to show me, all right, one of two methods. You guys, I still need to see the work. I know some things never change with some of you guys, but you have to show work, okay? Either using the X in the box method to factor or using grouping. Now, I do understand some of these are real super simple. Like this one, you can look in, you can use your mental math skills and say, all right, well, 2 times 5 is 10, add those up and I get 7. I understand that. But you have to learn this method because you're gonna see with our lesson today that it gets progressively more difficult because we're gonna be adding numbers that create bigger factors or bigger numbers that have more factors, okay? All right, so I started this a little bit, but let's go through and look at our factors. I want you guys to list all the factors of 4. All right, we did this before. You just start with 1 times 4, and then 2 times 2, and that's it. So 4 only has 2 sets of factors. Okay, 72. We've got 1, 72, 2, and 36, and you just keep going down the line. All right, 7, no, but how about 8 and 9? Notice again, this column, these numbers get bigger. This column, these numbers get smaller. And eventually they're gonna meet each other, all right? Or get close to each other anyways. And then also remember that shortcut that I showed you guys before. If you just type in 72 divided by X in your graphing calculator and you go to your table, look at that, all right? Here's all your factors. 172 all the way down, 612, and then 8 and 9, okay? All right, so let's try one more together. 100, factors of 100, 1 and 100, 2 and 53. Nope, 3 is not a factor. How about 4 and 25, 5 and what? 26, nope, 7, 8, 9. What about 10 and 10? So there's all my factors. Okay, so a little bit of a review of what we're going to be doing today. So, all right, let's go through your notes, okay? And again, I'm going to use lined paper today because I like having the lines there. It gives me a little bit more structure, okay? But if you download or look at the notes from Schoology, number 1 is x squared plus 2x minus 24. Now, you got to keep in mind, you guys, that these signs, okay, make a big difference in the way that we factor these, okay? So you got to be careful with those. All right, I'm going to use both methods for this first one, and then I'll probably just end up using the Xbox for the other ones. If you like grouping, by all means, use a grouping method. Okay, so step number 1, if you guys remember, all right, we're going to make our X. Now we're going to multiply A times C. Now remember, in these examples, A is 1, C is negative 24, all right? So negative 24 goes up there, and B goes down there, all right? So all the factors, excuse me, of negative 24, that add up to 2, all right? Well, I'm thinking 4 times 6, multiply them, but it's got to be a negative. So one of these has to be a negative, and they got to add up to a positive 2. So that means the 6 needs to be positive. So just double check. Negative 4 times 6 is negative 24. Add them up and you get 2. All right? Okay, so now we're going to go over here and use the box, or make the box, I should say. I get x squared goes there. All right, guys. All right, this is frustrating. For some of you guys who, when we eventually, if we ever get back together, or next year in Algebra 2, if you guys have me for Algebra 2, you won't know how to fill this box. And remember, this first term always goes there. The last term always goes there. Doesn't change. It's always the same, okay? And then these two numbers, it doesn't matter, negative 4x and 6x. Those are the two factors that we're gonna use, okay? So they go right there. And then it's just a matter of finding the GCF of each column in each row. So I've got x here, x times x is x squared, x times 6 is 6x, and 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. So my two factors are x plus 6 and x minus 4. Okay, done. All right, now just for this one, I will use grouping as well. So we already know what the factors are. This is the same step that we would use in grouping. Okay, I'm just gonna rewrite it as x squared minus 4x plus 6x minus 24, all right? And then the grouping, I group those two binomials, pull out the GCF. They both have a GCF of x. X minus 4 is left over. Now remember, if I do this correctly, when I pull out a GCF, I should be left over with x minus 4. 6, and it does work. So these two give me x plus 6 and x minus 4. Okay, look at that. Those two are exactly the same. So it doesn't matter, but I need to see this work. Okay, guys, I need to see this work. All right, so there's example number 1. Now I'm gonna skip down just to save some time, all right, for these notes so they're not too long. Let's look at number 6 from your notes, which is 5n squared plus 25n minus 250, okay? Okay, all right, so with this one, all right, what do you notice about the a value? In this case, the a is 5, all right? So what you can do before you do anything is you can say, that, you know, you can ask yourself, do all three of these terms, 1, 2, 3, have a GCF? And they do, okay? They have a GCF of 5. So if I take out a 5, if I divide 5 out of each of those terms, I'm left with n squared plus 5n, okay, minus 50. All right. Okay, so when I'm factoring this, okay, this little 5 just stays here. We can just ignore that, that stays out front. All right, now let's go ahead and factor this trinomial that we just came up with, okay? So make the x negative 50, all right? So we're looking at just this one. A is 1, B is 5, C is negative 50. Okay, so two numbers that multiply to negative 50 to add up to 5. I'm thinking 5 times 10, and this is going to be a negative 5. All right, so again, those are my two factors. You guys, you have to go search for those. Those are my two factors that I'm going to use. All right, let me use the box. Okay, all right, so I've got n squared, negative 50, negative 5n, and 10. All right, so I've got n and n. All right, oops, sorry, this is a 10n, so this is 10, negative 5. So all I did was found the GCF of each row and each column. All right, okay, so you can't forget, these are my factors. Don't forget about this guy, all right? It's still part of the expression. So I've got n minus 5, n plus 10. All right, factored it. If you did not take out the GCF to start, you could still use the X box, except you're going to get big numbers because 5 times 250 is a bigger number. And you're going to eventually have to take out and reduce that 5, take it out of there. So it really helps to take that GCF out in the first step, and then you can deal with just that trinomial, which is a whole lot easier. Okay? All right, let me try one more. Let's go number 11 from your notes. I know you guys don't like the ones with the bigger numbers here, but we've got 5p squared minus 90p plus 400. All right? Well, right away I see that all three of these terms have a GCF of 5. All right? Okay. So let's go ahead and take a 5 out of each of those. All right? All right, so I'm going to have, if I take out a 5, I'm left with p squared minus 18p plus 80. All I did was divided out a 5 out of each of those terms, okay? All right, now once again, don't forget about this guy. We'll reserve him for our final answer there. He's still a part of that expression. All right, so I'm gonna take 80 times 1, which is 80. All right, and then negative 18 goes in the middle. All right, so let's see here. So if you notice, look at this last term is a positive, but they got to add up to a negative. So what that tells me, okay, and as you guys start doing this more and more, what that tells me is I already know my factors are going to be p minus something and p minus something, because a negative times a negative is a positive, and when I add those up, I get a negative. So I already know what my signs are based off of what these signs are, okay? All right, so let's look at 80 here, okay? All right, let's go 1, 80, let's go 2, and what? 40. Remember, these are both negative, all right? 5 by 3, nope. What about negative 4 and negative 20? Remember, we're looking for two numbers that add up to a negative 18. All right. All right, 80 divided by 8. All right, so what about negative 8 and negative 10? All right, let's see if that works. All right, let's look at that. Now, if you notice, all right, I'll go through the rest of the work for you guys, but I want you guys to notice something, because you guys will start to develop shortcuts when you're doing this on your own. All right, so what do we have up? Remember, we're using just this one. Don't go back up here. We're using this one now. So this is p squared. This is 80. We've got negative 8p and negative 10p. So if I go and factor this, look what happens. I get p minus 10 and p minus 8. All I really could have done, since a is 1, is I could have looked here and just put in a negative 8, negative 10. All right? And those, I just factored that trinomial. And again, guys, there's lots that we're going to do with this. This is just setting the table for what we're going to do next. So this is not the end-all, be-all of this problem, okay? All right, now if you go back up here to our previous example and you look again, look at my factors, negative 5 and a positive 10. Okay, we'll look down here, negative 5 and a positive 10. All right, that usually works when a is 1. Now what's going to happen next week is this number right here is going to be bigger than 1. It's going to be like this, but we won't be able to take out a GCF, which is going to make this number bigger, which makes it a little bit more difficult, okay? All right, so that's it for our notes. I'll make them short today. You got your homework assignment, all right? And if I can find out where I put it, here it is. Okay, so look at you guys. Oops, sorry, I fell. All right, so if you look, all right, here's your homework assignment right here. All right, day 8, factoring trinomials. You've got 1 through 16. All right, okay, guys, see you later.